I'm Catherine. Welcome to my making adventure. This is a knitting, crafting podcast where I like to share all of the different things that I've been working on in the last couple of weeks. Thank you for coming along with me today. I live in the rural Midwest with my husband and our 3 daughters. The baby is nearby trying to sleep. So we'll see how that goes. This might be filmed in parts. You might hear baby noises. But hopefully she'll go to sleep and we'll be able to film the full podcast. Today is Friday, November 22nd, 2024. We are getting ready for Thanksgiving week here in the United States. And yeah, I think that's it. Today I am wearing a stick season sweater, which is a pattern by Clow. I knit it last winter for my husband in yarn that he dyed himself. It's a pretty green tonal color. I tried to depill it this morning so that it would look nicer, but it still probably has pills on it. I do have a link to my Ravelry page for this sweater down below if you would like more details on that. I loved making this pattern, and it was my first drop shoulder sweater that I knit, and also like only my third adult garment. I guess I had knit 2 sweaters for my daughters before I finished this. I knit my coloring book tee, then I think I made the ranunculus, and I knit my daughters each a round yoke bean and olive, which is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and then I made this for my husband. So it was like my 5th garment, my first drop shoulder, first time using hand-dyed yarn, which I alternated skeins for most of it. So yeah, it was very labor intensive for me for that stage that I was at then in my knitting, and I'm really proud of it. And I think it turned out well. I did go in and add a couple extra inches in length in the body last winter for him, and so I only have like little balls of yarn left over at this point. All right, today I also have a couple finished objects to share with you. The first one, I'm super excited, is the Micah's Raglan sweater that I knit for my baby. This is a worsted weight pattern by Hannah Graham Knits, and it comes in like baby child sizes. So this is the smallest size, which I don't remember the bust circumference for it, but it's just called baby. In her pattern, I used the Cascade 220 superwash yarn and a US size 5 knitting needle, which is a 3.75 millimeter. So I did not gauge swatch because I had knit already with this yarn recently, because I did the sibling sweater for my other 2 daughters with this yarn. And I started my husband's sweater with this yarn, which we'll talk about in the works in progress section. This was my first cabled project, and I think the cables turned out really, really well. I think that will help you see them. It was also one of the first times where I like corrected just 1 row after. One point I had made one when I didn't need to, so I like dropped that stitch so that it disappeared, and another time I missed a make one, so I like went back down a row and added it and brought it all the way back up. And that's the first time that I've done that level of fixing my mistakes. So yeah, that was exciting. The pops of color are modifications from the pattern. So I wanted to bring in some of the colors from the other sweaters I was knitting for my family members. So this pink and teal pops of color are from my girl sweaters, and then the teal and the blue are my husband's sweater, and they also have white, all of them. To do the pop of color, when I change colors, I knit one round even, like just plain knit around, and then I did the ribbing for one round, and then I did a sewn bind off, the one without the setup rounds. Is that the Italian bind off? That's the one I do. And so I did that all the way around. And the original pattern has a folded collar, and I just did a single collar, but the cuffs are made long enough that you can fold them up too, which goes cute with a folded collar. But because I wanted to do the pop of color, I chose not to do that. So I knit my collar like half the length. I actually think I did more than half the length of the original pattern collar. So yeah, that's the Micah's Raglan sweater, which is a pattern by Hanagram. I'm really pleased with it. My baby has gotten to wear it. It's too big in an adorable way, and I love it, and she'll get good use out of it all winter. And the yarn is, when you wash and block it, it is definitely soft and not itchy or scratchy or anything. I mean, it's super wash, so that helps. Oh, to do my cables, this was a fun, I don't have a cable needle. Like I said, I haven't really done any cable projects. And I wasn't able to do it without a tool. I think some people could do these cables without a cable needle, but I just used a yarn needle, a tapestry needle, like what I used to weave in my ends, as my cable needle. So I put my stitches on there, held it in front, knit, pulled it back up, knit right off the needle, and it worked just fine, especially because the cables aren't very big. Obviously, if I was doing a more intense cabled project, I would probably want a better cable needle. Right, then I do have a second finished object, which is crocheted. It's been getting cold, and my baby needed a warmer hat, and I could not find the hat that I used when my other girls were this size. I don't know where it disappeared to. It might be in a bin downstairs. But instead of going and looking in the bin downstairs, I grabbed some of that acrylic yarn I had that matched her rainbow ripple blanket that I made for her. And I made an easy breezy ribbed beanie, which is a pattern by the Turtle Trunk. It's a free pattern, and I saw the Crazy Sock Lady was making it. And so I made this little baby hat from, I think, 6 or 7 small balls of leftover yarn that I had. And so there was a lot of ends, and I mostly just tied them and trimmed them, unless, like these ones down here, I trimmed them. I mean, I wove them in too, but I was worried about them coming loose in acrylic yarn, so I tied them on the wrong side. Except where I wanted to fold up the brim, I tried to make those ones not show, but they still do. I mean, this is a one day, I took 2 days, but essentially a 1 day project for me. It's just half double crochets, and you do a big rectangle, and then you seam it and weave in the top. I knit the size baby small. This yarn is Red Heart Super Saver Ombre in the color purple, and I used an I crochet hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter. It is a bit stiff. I feel like I could have used a J. But I is the same hook that I used for the rainbow ripple blanket, so you think that I would have known what I was getting into. I've also seen a similar pattern where you do so many half double crochets and then you stop at a certain point and do single crochets so that the crown stitches are smaller and it brings in the top a little bit more easily. I couldn't be bothered with doing that at this point though, so I needed something that was very mindless and simple, which then it wasn't because I had all the ends, but it was okay. Changing yarn with crochet is easier for me than changing yarn when I'm knitting. Sometimes I just crochet with 2 strands at the same time, but I thought that that would be somewhat noticeable in this pattern, so I chose not to do that. Like in my blanket, I often do that. Just when I have this much tail left, I add the next color for that much, and I just crochet both yarns together. That is my second finished object. Both are for my baby, who is grunting behind me. Well, in front of me, behind you. All right. I have some vanilla chai tea here, helping with my dry throat. Next, I will update you on my works in progress that I had already started in the last podcast. The first is a sweater I'm making for my husband, which is the Metamorphic by Lisa K. Ross. It is a Henley style with buttons, but it's like a thick collared Henley, like a quarter zip, but it has buttons. And I'm knitting the size large. This is Cascade 220 Superwash, the same as the Micah's Raglan. And I'm using US 6 needles, which is a 4mm. I have made a little bit of progress on this, but not much. The sleeves, oops, let me pull those out so it doesn't look funny. I tucked the sleeves in because I was working on the body and it makes it a little easier to not have so much going on. I have knit from that light bulb marker all the way down. So about 2 inches, which was my goal. I can knit this while I'm putting my older 2 to sleep and their light is off. So that's when I've been working on this most of the time, because it's just stockinette in the round. I had thought maybe I was like getting close, but then I measured and I think I have quite a lot left to do. So hopefully in the next week, I'll be able to get another couple inches done and finish it up. I was hoping to have this done by the end of the month, but today, the end of the month is about a week away. And because I have other priorities, I don't think this is not my priority right now. So I don't think I will get it done by then, because I also plan to take out and redo the collar. It just feels floppy. So I think I'm gonna try, I might have done this with a 5, a US 5. I think I'm gonna try a 4 and see if I get a better ribbing. So we'll see about that. So yeah, a little update there, but still a lot to do. I have made no progress on my Felix cardigan. I don't even know that I've taken it out of the bag since I last podcast, so I'm not going to show that to you. But I have 2 new cast-ons, so 2 new works in progress. The first one is a Sophie Shawl. Sophie Shawl is a pattern by PetiteKnit. I'm doing the shawl, which is larger. There's also a Sophie scarf, which is like a small little, it still is scarf-esque to me. It's like long and doesn't get wider than, but I am using Swish Knit Picks Swish Worsted in the color Seaweed. This is my second ball and I have 4. So the plan is to continue increasing until this is almost all gone and then switch to the decreases. This is all new since last time. I don't know how to best show this. Ta-da! Hopefully my water is not in there. Try again. Ta-da! I did not gauge swatch or anything. It didn't seem important for this pattern. I am using the recommended needles, which is a US 8 5mm needles. And the pattern technically has 3 sizes. I think I'm past the first size, but not yet to the second size. I don't know where we'll end up because I'm just going to use the yarn that I have. This is a gift knit. So this is one of my priorities right now. This needs to be ready to gift the first week of December. So I need to keep working on it. And I want to wash it and lay it to dry before then. It is so soft and squishy though. I really like it. I'm really happy with how it's coming. I did take time, so I have woven in the starting end, sort of. It looks like it will need trimmed again, and I wove in the ends when I switched the yarn. When I switched to the second ball. So. Looks like we're done. Done for now. Final project still to come. All right, I'm back. The family's all home, so there will be extra sounds in the background, but that's okay. My last work in progress to share is the Zipper Sweater Light Men, a pattern by PetiteKnit, and I am using Swish DK in the color Pinecone Heather. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to make the small or the extra small size. I'm waiting. The 2 sizes start the same, and I'm gonna go all the way until where there's a difference, and then I'm gonna block it, check my gauge, compare to the sizes I'm hoping to get, and then decide which size to make. So here's what I've got so far. It has a folded ribbed collar, and then I'm working the Raglan increases right now. The collar is done differently than I've done anything previously. I think it's called Judy's Magic Cast On or something like that, where you use 2 needles to cast on all your stitches, and then you knit across one of them for this pattern, and then when you fold it down, you combine the 2 needles, like you knit from both needles together, so then you only have the stitches on, only have 1 set of stitches then when you finally fold it down. So that was new to me and required a little bit of research, but I got it figured out without too much struggling. And what else? Oh, I used 50 grams, which is the size of balls that this yarn comes in, right before I was folding the collar. I didn't think about weaving in ends before I folded the collar, and it's a lot harder to weave in the ends after the collar's folded. So that is done now. I'm on my 3rd ball. Just recently, about an inch ago, switched to my 3rd ball. So this is still flat knitting, making that zipper part. I think the Raglans look really pretty. I did miss at one Raglan the increases during the short rows, and I didn't notice until I was finished with the short rows and kind of like counting the stitches that the pattern says I should be at. And I did not want to rip back all of the short rows, which would have been like right to where I combined the collar, because I was worried like if I went too far, I would have both ends of the collar loose. So I didn't rip back, I just added increases on the wrong side to make up for it so that I had the right stitch count. And I don't think you can tell now where that happened. I think it will be fine. I'm using a US 5 needle, which is a 3.75 millimeter, and that's, I think, one size smaller than the pattern recommends. That's what I needed to get gauged based on my gauge swatch. Yeah, so this is a gift knit. I need to have it done before Christmas. Hopefully even by December 15th would be ideal, because it's stressing me out. So this is my main project. This is getting all of my attention, because I know that when I make garments, inevitably something will come up where I have to decide, do I want to do this or that? Like, do I want to knit the small or the extra small? So I'm going to give myself room to pause there, make a decision. I kind of have like week by week what I'm hoping to do laid out, and then like within this week I set daily goals. I have not accomplished my daily goals yesterday, and even this morning I knit a little bit and I still don't think I finished yesterday's daily goal. So we'll see. We'll see. I'll just keep plugging away as much as I can every day on it, and then picking up something a little bit when I need something easier, which right now this is just stocking it flat. So, and the increases are easy for me at this point. I am at a point just recently where I can make one left and make one right without looking it up, where I can come to the Raglan part of the sweater and know whether I need to make one left or make one right. And just like do it instinctively without having to put a lot of thought into it, or like have a little note. I take notes on new things like on an index card so it can fit in my notions pouch and I can have it with me. But I don't feel like I need that, so it's just kind of like go, go, go. And I'm excited by that. I've been making long enough now that I can do that. Okay, the baby does not agree with being put back in her crib, it sounds like. So quickly, I have no future plans because I have 4 projects going right now, which is plenty for me, especially since 3 of those are adult size sweaters. So I will definitely be finishing 2 or 3 of these projects before I cast on anything else. Specifically, these gift knits are gonna get all of my attention. And I would also like to finish my husband's sweater probably before I cast on anything else. So I do have plans, but nothing is for sure. I have lots of things I'd like to do, but nothing is actually a plan yet. I have a few books to share with you, just some life stuff, some books, some things I've been cooking, and just a little, life update. So I finished book 2 from James Herriot, which is called All Things Bright and Beautiful. I loved it just as much as the first one. I appreciate that each little bit could be kind of like a standalone, so it's easy to like pick up and put down at no matter how much time you have, which is good for my stage of life. It's not one of those with like a lot of cliffhangers where you're gonna stay up all night to finish it, which is important because I should not be staying up all night while I'm also taking care of young children on a regular basis that need a lot of attention during the day. The next book that I read is called The Book of Lost Names by Kristin, Harmel. And it's about the Holocaust, which I found a bit tricky to read about, but I also enjoy reading about. It was an excellent read. I loved almost all of it, except the very, very, very last part of the ending. One moment, please. So, except the very, very last part of the ending. I found that to be unrealistic. And that made me kind of question the realism throughout the whole storyline. And I wanted to believe that it was a realistic version. And I'm sure some of it is based on real stories of real people. So anyway, if like the last 3 pages weren't there, I think it would have been better. But I still think it was an excellent read, and I don't regret reading it. I'm currently reading The Anatomist Apprentice by Tessa Harris. I'm still not sure if I'm going to like it or not, but I'm about 25% of the way through. I think one of the things is none of the characters do I like really relate to or connect with or even really like. Most of them are not super likable or personable at this point in the story. And I usually like to connect with a character. It follows a gentleman who studies dead bodies to figure out things about their life. And he gets called in to see if he can determine the cause of death. Sort of like Bones, the TV series, but in a book format and older. Like he's one of the original anatomists who can do that kind of work. So he doesn't have like technology to help him. It's old. And I've watched the whole Bones series multiple times. So I enjoy maybe that little bit there. I don't know. But I don't watch Bones for the dead body. I watch it for the characters. So we'll see if I finish the book and how I feel when it's done. So that is what I've got in reading. We have been eating lots of good soup. Even during the summer, I was cooking our favorite cheeseburger soup, which I feel like we've got perfected pretty well and is really delicious. And we've been making that almost weekly. We have also made a broccoli cheese soup where I added some ham, very delicious. And also a really good chicken pot pie soup. So we've been really enjoying our soup this fall. And even my little girls eat it, especially if we have some good bread to go with it. And one of the things we've been working on is perfecting a sourdough bread loaf, like a sandwich bread loaf. We have sourdough dinner rolls that we really, really like, and we can make well following the recipe. But we've really struggled to get a good sandwich bread. I know a lot of people enjoy making the artisan bread. That's not as, I mean, obviously we could use it, but a sandwich bread loaf is much more usable for us as a family with small kids. So that's what we've been working on, and I really thought we had it down. So I made a double batch for church. We were having a soup night on Wednesday, and it didn't turn out. So that was sad, but we'll get it figured out. We're getting close, I'm sure. We will get it figured out. Part of the problem was I didn't cook it long enough, but another part of the problem was that part of it had gotten like crusty on the rise. And then when you form it into the loaves, it stayed crusty. It like looked like a cinnamon roll without cinnamon. So yeah, that is what we are working on there. And just a few things that we've been up to, mostly trying to get out and enjoy walks with the family, even though with little ones a walk takes longer, trying to enjoy that. And enjoying the fall weather and the leaves and pine cones and acorns and sticks and all the goodies that you can pick up while you're out on a walk. We also went to the zoo and we had a great time. It was pouring rain. It was kind of chilly, but it was a Monday morning in November at the zoo when it was raining and there was hardly anybody there. And that was very enjoyable for us because we could enjoy the exhibits, without being pushed along by the crowds, or even worrying about like getting separated from your children because the crowd was moving in it on its own. And kids are really sneaky and can like zip, zip, zip in between adults, and you're stuck 5 to 10 feet behind them. But yeah, we didn't enjoy the whole zoo because that would have gotten us soaking wet, and we did bring the baby. But we enjoyed the parts that we could get to without getting too rained on. And yeah, overall, it was just a really good day. It was the baby's first trip to the zoo, so that was fun. And then yeah, mostly I'm feeling like we're pretty busy. We are back to most of our normal activities, appointments and music class, and yeah, that means that life is busy with 3 little ones, one of them being a newborn still. So I'm just trying to enjoy that time, even though it does feel quite busy. I think that's all I have to share today. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, God bless.